What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Opinion. I am your host, Kyle Spencer, KODX Factor, whatever y'all want to call me. Welcome on back. This is episode number 3 or episode number 4? I can't remember. I actually lost count of the ticker that I have for how many episodes we are currently at. But anyway, welcome on back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us back. We hope you guys have had a eventful-filled week. We are coming a little bit later in the week with this episode, but it is finally here. We were off for a week. We are back this week. This week was a little bit hectic because it was Halloween week. So everybody was out and about doing all their Halloween stuff on Tuesday. And hope everybody had a great and safe Halloween. If you're here in the North Carolina area, you probably got hit with some rain on Halloween, which kind of put a damper on things. But we didn't let that slow us down. We all went out there, took the kids out trick-or-treating. We set up our graveyard out in the front yard, so we had a nice little path for the kids to come up and get their candy. We had some of those Spirit Halloween animatronics guarding the candy. So if you made it to the candy bowl, congratulations. We hope everybody had a very safe and fantastic Halloween. We hope you guys have enjoyed the Halloween Havoc videos that we have been having going up on the channel since the beginning of October. These are like some of the spookier dark side games that are kind of go within the theme of Halloween. So they went on all month long. We are now in November, so those are now officially done. But we have the holidays to kind of look forward to. We got Thanksgiving this month, and we've got Christmas the following month. So Christmas is right around the corner. This year has flown by. It has been a fantastic year for video games. We've had a plethora of titles. We've had many titles to go through. It's been fantastic. And if you're one of the ones to argue that it hasn't been that great of a year for gaming, I don't know what the fuck you're on. It's been a great year for gaming. It's been fantastic. We've had so many titles, and I'm not talking about like just, titles that are just coming out just to be titles, just new additions to the consoles. I'm talking about titles that are actually really, really good. We've had a lot going on within the game industry this year. I mean, one of the biggest acquisitions just happened. Microsoft gained access to Activision Blizzard. So we're going to look forward to see what goes on with them in the future. Starfield finally released. We got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 released. We got the Metal Gear Solid Collection finally released. Excuse me. Super Mario Wonder. The Sonic Superstars. The remaster of the Sonic Origins. I mean, that was another one. The Legend of Zelda that came out on the Switch. How can you forget about that? There was just Liza P, a surprise smash hit, which we got the review for you today. We finally finished it. So many great games that came out this year, and there's still more to come. Like WarioWare is getting ready to release. We have what's the other one that's actually getting ready to come out too? The Super Mario RPG. That's getting ready to release. We still got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 coming. That's still on the horizon. There's still plenty of games still to come out between now and Christmas time to add on to the already big list of solid releases we got this year. And I can't wait to do an episode after 2023 is closed, and we kind of do like our recap of 2023 and look at the best and the worst from it. I'm sure there's going to be some bad things to kind of go over, but there's going to be a lot of great to go along with it as well. So we have that to look forward to. But getting back to this particular episode, we have under review, we are going to be reviewing Liza P. We are finally officially done with it. It is in the books. It's in the can. It is done. Videos are going to be coming out. We are ready to go. We got a score for you today. Segment number 1, obviously we're going to go over what we've been playing over the past week and a half. It's been a pretty decent amount. Again, I got to apologize. I did not get to Lords of the Fallen like I promised. I wanted to. Hopefully I'll be able to get to that next week. But I mean, it just seems like every time I was getting ready to go into Lords of the Fallen, something else just dropped in my lap that I just like, I got to try this one. And one of those games was the Spider-Man 2. We got a hold of it. And we are now, my son's already finished the game. I'm like 30% through with the game, but I'm doing everything. He didn't do everything. He just did the story. You did. You only did the story. You didn't touch much on the side stuff. You did very little of like any like the city missions. I'm 100% through with all of those, and I'm only like 33. Like I'm 31% through with the game. So I've still got a lot to go on that before we can deliver a score on that particular game as well. The Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection. I just started with that. Hopefully we'll have some thoughts on that within the next week or two. That's another one that I was actually kind of really looking forward to. I did play some Super Mario Wonder. I will go into a little bit of detail about that because I mean it was a fun game so far from what I played of it. I haven't finished it yet, but we're trugging along. I've got so many games in the pipeline I'm trying to finish, and it's just like I can't find enough time in every given day to do it. We're still trying to work through Assassin's Creed Mirage. And I mean, I could talk a little bit about that too, but I mean, you know, it's another Assassin's Creed game. I mean, I like it so far, but I'm just not far enough into it to really give a good, solid assessment on it yet. I should be able to next week on that one as well. I got a couple of videos up on our YouTube channel for Assassin's Creed. So, but yeah, that's what we have on the docket for you today. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. So let's take us a quick, small musical break, and when we come back, we'll get into what we have been playing. We'll be right back. Welcome on back, everybody, to segment number 1 of Unpopular Opinion. Thank you guys so much for coming back with us. We're going to go into what we've been playing over these past couple weeks. It's been a pretty heavy dose of games we've been going through. You know, I do want to iterate and apologize firsthand. I did not get a chance to play Lords of the Fallen like I really wanted to. I haven't had the opportunity yet. I will hope to get to it this weekend. You know, so that is coming up on the horizon. I do promise you that. But we did finish, like I promised and like I was trying so hard to do, we did finish Liza P. So a review for that is coming up in this very episode. We did play Super Mario Wonder. We played the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection, and we have been playing a pretty heavy dose of Amazing Spider-Man. I'll say Amazing Spider-Man, just Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. Now, let me first start off with talking about Super Mario Wonder. If you are a Nintendo and Mario fan of games like Super Mario Deluxe and the Mario Brothers and the 2D platformer, kind of like what they've been doing over the past number of years when it comes to Mario, with the exception of Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey was like the 3D Mario World. That was freaking amazing. Mario Wonder is actually really, really good. You know, it fits right within that wheelhouse of Super Mario Deluxe. So if you are a fan of that particular game, you're gonna love Super Mario Wonder. It does offer some new additions, some new suits, some new powers, you know, that Mario and his friends do get. So it does add a little bit more to the gameplay elements of it. But I mean, if you're not a fan of those type of games, or they just don't really quote unquote tickle your fancy, you're probably not going to really think too much of this when it comes to picking up games. Now, if you have a little one at home, or if you have one of the younger kids at home, and they're asking you about Mario Wonder for Christmas, because we do know now we're in the month of November. Halloween just finished. We are in the month of November now, which means it's about prime time for holiday shopping season. That does officially start. If your kids are asking you for this for Christmas, there is no reason not to get it to them. I promise you that it's a good game. They're gonna like it. They're gonna get plenty of hours of gameplay out of it. It just kind of depends on how many hours you want them to be playing, but they will get plenty of gameplay out of it. I do promise you that. It's a really solid game. It's a really good game. If you're a Mario fan, like I said, you will really enjoy it. I do like some of the new superpower moves, which they showed off in the trailer, especially early on, especially when they first announced it. I thought it was actually pretty well done. Graphically, it does look very good. I personally thought that they would have probably held on to this until the next Switch. And we got to start asking ourselves, could they have technically really held on to this until their next system? They possibly could, but I don't really see much in the way of graphical or gameplay updates you really could do between system and system. Now, I promise you that they're probably going to have a version of this game come out for the new, whatever their next system's going to be, especially if it's like backwards compatible, which I'm hearing rumors is going to be backwards compatible. So, yeah, yes and no. Maybe could they have held on to this until the next iteration? Probably launched the next system with this title. They probably could, depending on how far along they are with that. But if what I'm hearing is to be true, I don't think they're too far off from announcing and then shipping their next system, which makes me wonder if they could have actually held on to this game until that launch to give the audience a Mario game to launch alongside with that system. Now, unless they got something planned for that next system as far as the library coming out, that remains to be seen. But I mean, it remains to be seen when the system's going to get announced anyway. So we have that to kind of look forward to. But again, if you're a Mario fan, if you like those like the Mario Deluxe type of titles, the new Super Mario Brothers for like that came out like on the Wii and then the Wii U, this is another solid addition to go along with that. So you'll really enjoy it. Trust me, you will. The other game I played a really heavy dose of, and this is going to kind of tie into our segment number 2 of what really grinds my gears, is we played a really hefty amount of Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. And I got to say, to me personally, I like the game. I really like it. I mean, I've been a fan of the first Spider-Man. I've been a fan of Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 is no different. It I get some of the complaints about it, and again, we're going to kind of talk about this a little bit deeper in segment number 2. I get some of the complaints about it. Do I think some of them are valid? Yeah, maybe some of them are valid, but not near the amount that it was getting. And again, I'm gonna save some of this for segment number 2, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about it. But if you played Spider-Man 1, you played Miles Morales, you know what you're getting with Spider-Man 2. Gameplay is pretty identical. The world is pretty identical. I mean, they did kind of expand a little bit, but not near the amount that I thought they could have. But keep in mind, I am still pretty early on in the game. I'm only like 30% through. And when I say 30% through, I don't mean 30%, Nate, of the story mode, because my son blasted through the story mode of Spider-Man 2 and completed the game already. Has already beat it and everything, and it has only gotten 51% of the game completion, and that's just him blasting through the story. Didn't do much in the way of side missions, didn't do much in the way of side quests or anything that you can kind of do throughout the city. Me, I'm a completionist. So whatever's there and is available to me, I'm going to knock those out before I really go into the main story. So I'm really early on in the main story. There are a couple things with the main story I do not like. And when we kind of get closer to doing the review for this game, you're going to hear what some of those are. But there are some things with the story I just generally don't like. I don't like the origins of Venom, how he came to be. To me, I think they made um, like Craven the Hunter. I think they made him more of like a side villain than the main villain, which is kind of sad because I thought that they were going to kind of go more towards Craven being the main baddie, and they seemed like they tried to do it, but it was overshadowed with Venom. And that's why when they announced it, I was like, if they're gonna have Craven as the villain, I don't understand why you'd want to put Venom into that mix, because Venom's gonna overshadow any villain that you have in the title beforehand, and they try to flesh it out to where it's a Craven storyline that entangles Venom into it, and you can't do that. Venom needs almost his whole story with Spider-Man alone. No other side villains, no other story objectives. This has got to be a Spider-Man and Venom game where you kind of see the origins and how Venom came to be into Spider-Man's presence, and how they brought Venom in, like who they attached him to early on. I think did a major disservice to like hardcore Marvel or comic book fans. They changed some stuff around, and stuff that was not really too great. Um, they could have done possibly they could have done a lot more with it. I think they tried to throw it was one of those where they tried to throw too much into the pot and was expecting something to kind of come out of that pot that was going to be like something just explosive. And like again, the game is good. The game I love the game for what it does, but they turned. I'm trying to think of the best way to possibly say this without spoiling anything, because I don't want to spoil anything. But whom Venom is or comes to be in this game should not have been. They should have flushed other characters out more with this game. I think they brought Venom into this universe, the game universe. I think they brought Venom in too early. Now, fans have probably been clamoring for a Spider-Man and Venom game for quite a while. I get it. Venom's a very, very popular character. He's one of those that is just you want to see him in video game form. You want to you almost want to play as Venom. You want to see him as a character in the game. And you do. Trust me, you get plenty of Venom. But I think they brought him into this story far too early. And there's a couple other villains they could have done more with and done a bigger storyline with than what they did with Venom here. They tried to do too much. I think they kind of overreached a little bit in some elements of the story. I think they would have it probably would have done them more of a service if they kept with the Craven Hunter storyline throughout and not just made him feel like a side villain, and told maybe snippets of the Venom story, not the full-fledged storyline of Venom, and then boom, into the universe. Here he is. They should have teased little bit by little bit with him, and then there's so many other things they could have done with other characters that are already established in that universe, other villains that are already established in that universe. There's things they could have done there that they didn't even touch on yet. And I think that's where the storyline in this game went a little bit wrong. It's a great game. If you played and you like the first two, you know what you're getting already with this one. Some people are arguing that this feels more of like another expansion pack of Spider-Man. I get the argument, but I think they maybe did just enough to where it feels more than an expansion pack. So I don't really fully 100% agree with the idea of this feels like an expansion pack. Again, we're going to touch on this in segment number 2, so just stay tuned, okay? Um, but I think the only thing where they went wrong with this game was kind of like in the storyline, and I think that they probably tried to change too much, and I think they introduced Venom too early. Not so much like too early in the game storyline, but just in the universe storyline. They could have done that in like Spider-Man 3 or 4 later on down the line, because people are going to buy it. So it's going to open you up for more sequels of this game further on down the line. And you could have brought Venom in at any point through any of those. Especially in like a third or fourth game iteration. Especially if you want to do a storyline where you're teasing him as a character little bit by little bit. Just saying. I mean, they kind of did that with the movies, like with the Spider-Man universe. When Venom came to be, he's had two solo movies already, and there's only been small mentions of Spider-Man, and those have been like at the very end. So I think what they I think they bit off maybe a little bit more than they could chew when it came to the story of this. But is it a good game? Yes. Am I having fun with it? Yes. Have I played a buttload of it? Yes. It will be finished here probably roughly pretty soon. I don't think it's a very, very long game. It's a long game in the sense of a Spider-Man game, but it's like if you're looking at it from like how many hours I put into like Liza P and try to look at how long Spider-Man is going to be, they're going to do 2 different timelines of games. Okay? And I'm not going to touch on the Metal Gear Solid collection too much, just because I haven't done enough with that game yet to kind of to give you an honest opinion of it just yet. So I'm going to hold off on that one. And then, of course, the Liza P we finally finished. If you remember my comments from the last episode where I said it seemed like the game was getting better as you progressed, that still holds true even up to the ending. Is there a big kind of surprise at the ending? No, not really. You can kind of see it coming, the direction they went. If you were paying attention enough to the story as you were playing throughout, you kind of saw where they were going with it, and that's kind of where they went with it. I think they, and I'm gonna say this for the review portion of this too, so I don't want to go into too much detail about how I felt. I did feel like they kind of got trapped into the recycled boss formula that From Software has done before. Actually done numerous times before, and I think they kind of fell into that trap because there's a couple bosses that you fight and then you have to fight again later on, but like maybe like a different variation of that particular boss. He even has the same name, same type of general mood set, except there's just some added moves to his arsenal. So again, I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who have not played it all the way, but do I stick to my notions that this is probably one of the best From Software or one of the best Dark Souls formula type of games? Yes, I still think that holds true. This is probably one of the best ones out there. It follows more closely to Bloodborne, although like I said again, I'm going to save it for the review, but I do feel like it has a little bit of an identity crisis. Great game, fantastic game. I enjoyed it. I loved it. But I do feel it has a little bit of a identity crisis. All right, well, we're going to take us a small break. When we come back, we're going to get into segment number 2 of what really grinds my gears. So we will be right back. Welcome on back, everybody, to segment number 2 of Unpopular Opinion, where we're going to talk about what really is grinding my gears. Now, both topics today are going to come from the same game because it's got 2 different topics I wanted to touch on. The first topic is, with the release of Spider-Man 2 out of the woodworks, here comes some more fanboys, this time from the Xbox side of things, saying it's just an average game, not really worth the time. It's a expansion pack on steroids. It's not really a full value game. You're getting the same exact thing as you got last time. It's the same thing as before. Nothing new here. Look, I really wish, I've been hoping that fanboys would please just shut the fuck up. They have not. They are worse than ever. I thought it was bad back when I was coming up with games. When I was going through college, I thought it was bad then. When Xbox and Sony were kind of going back and forth with the sales and the argumentative stuff back and forth, and E3 was a thing. E3 is no longer a thing. The competitive nature is not really there anymore. I think it's more so the fans that are doing the combative stuff back and forth. And how you're going to go out there and just kind of, again, it's another review bomb type thing to where people are unhappy because it's not what you were wanting out of the game. Like, look, with Spider-Man 2, what did you think you were getting out of it? You played Spider-Man 1, you played Miles Morales. What did you think was going to be coming with Spider-Man 2? Were you looking for something like way, way above and beyond? Something completely different than what got them to that point to begin with? Now, granted, I will give you this. Are there a couple things I think they could have done with Spider-Man 2 to kind of give it that edge? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'll say that probably for like a review. But, I mean, could this game have benefited from like two-player co-op? One take the control of Miles, one take the control of Spider-Man. I get the way, why they did certain things, because Miles can only do certain things, and Peter Parker can only do certain things. But you could have implemented online or couch co-op with this game, like a split-screen co-op. I think you could have done with this game and got away with it. And that would have probably had done a lot to coax some of these freaking fanboys that are arguing online about this. Because, I mean, that's an element to the game that, me personally, when I first saw the trailer, the announcement trailer for it, and I saw Spider-Man and Miles together, I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be one of those co-op games. I was like, two-player co-op. I was like, this will be perfect. Me personally, that's what I thought of it. I mean, and it could have probably benefited from that, but that's not for this topic. This topic is for you fucking fanboys out there that want to try to review bomb a game because it's what? Because they did it with Starfield? Look, why can we not? If you're listening to this and you're one of those on either side of the spectrum, fuck you. Why can we not just say and be honest with ourselves that we've had a fucking solid year of video games? Games have come out like, look, this game is great. This game is great. Why can we not just fucking say that? Everybody wants to fucking be like the Debbie Downer of the fucking group. We didn't have a great year of games. These games weren't great. Starfield wasn't fantastic. It was it was all hyped up and nothing came out of it. Spider-Man wasn't that great. It was all hyped up and nothing really came out of it. You little fucking crybabies need to stay in your fucking room. Don't get online. Don't even offer your opinion to nobody else because nobody else really gives a shit. I swear to you, we really do not give a shit. I don't personally go out there and just call out individuals who I've seen negative comments about Spider-Man about. I don't pull out negative comments that I've seen people talk about Starfield about or the entire Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Why can we not just say that this has been a great year of gaming? We got some heavy-duty titles regardless of what platform you play on. If you're a PS5 gamer, you got some heavy hidden titles this year. Spider-Man included. I mean, regardless of what your opinions might be on Spider-Man, Spider-Man was a hit for Sony. We knew it was going to be. With Microsoft, you acquired Activision Blizzard. That's a major step for you. Starfield was a great release. It's doing well. The player base and the actual sales of the game were fantastic. We know the sales of Spider-Man are going to be fantastic. The player base is, at least starting off right now, is being fantastic. Nintendo, Lord knows how many titles you got this year. You got the Zelda early on in the year. Now you get Super Mario Wonder. And you still got like WarioWare still coming out. And you got Super Mario RPG coming out this year. If anybody had a bigger year than anybody else, it's Nintendo. They always seem to do that. They always seem to kind of fly under the radar. While people are bitching and moaning about what Microsoft and Sony are doing, nobody's giving two fucks about what Nintendo's doing, and they're just sitting there counting their checks. And looking at the amazing releases they had this year. And they don't involve themselves in none of that stupid bullshit. They really don't. You don't hear nobody arguing, but like, well, this didn't live up to this. Not with Nintendo, you don't. Look at the year they've had. They've had a fantastic year. I mean, right now they've had two solid releases. WarioWare comes out tomorrow. And then you got Super Mario RPG, I think, comes out next week. They've got 4 blockbusters going into the holiday season with. 4. I mean, we all know there's probably a dozen people that already have The Legend of Zelda already. And that's perfectly fine. But you still have the Super Mario RPG, and you got WarioWare. All still to come. Well, except Mario did already come out. It just came out last week. Why can we not, as a gaming society, just say this has been a fantastic year for games, regardless of whose platform you're on? If you'd enjoy, like the complaints I'm seeing for Spider-Man 2 about it being pretty much like a big expansion pack because it offers the same exact thing. Yes and no. If you play Spider-Man 1 and you play Miles Morales and you really, really enjoyed them and you want more of that, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with getting more of what you liked? Now because they didn't do enough to change what you've liked, you dislike it? Go fuck yourself. That makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. You seem like one of the type of people that want to try to find and nitpick everything to fucking death. You want to find something to be miserable about. You're a miserable person. You want to try to find everything you possibly can to justify your miserableness. That's not even a fucking word, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's fucking pathetic. Like, I wish... And social media made it bad to where everybody now wants to just fucking get their opinions out there. Opinions like this just don't fucking matter to me. Your opinion on the game, if you felt that way, does not fucking matter to me. I played the game. I enjoyed the game. I love that type of game. And I'm going to continue to fucking play it as long as I want. You didn't like it? Then fine. You didn't fucking like it. Go give it to somebody. Go sell it back. Trade it back. Do whatever the fuck you want to do with it. And then bitch and moan about it to your fucking self. But to go after the fucking developer for it, that's fucking stupid. Go fuck yourself. I hope you never get a chance to fucking play another game that you fucking liked ever again. You don't fucking deserve it. You don't deserve fucking... You deserve a bag full of dog shit. That's all you fucking deserve. But that's what you want to fucking find. That's what you want to do. Again, fucking fanboys, gamers, you irritate the pure fucking shit out of me. I wish there was a way to get fucking beyond this. What Xbox is your only go-to, PlayStation is your only go-to, Nintendo's your only go-to. There are other things out there. Try them. Play them. Everybody on all three platforms, 4 if you're including Steam and PC, all work in the same industry together. They want to make great games. They're not going there to appease just one particular type of audience. Who the fuck does that? You think they're going into the studio to develop Spider-Man 2 because they want to appease just your one fucking opinion? They could give 2 shits about your one fucking opinion. They look at the mass majority as a whole. Me personally, especially when I was in the development side of things, we went in to make games that we like to play. And if you came along for the ride, holla fucking luya. If you came along for it, fan-fucking-tastic. If it's sold a whole bunch of copies, great. That means people are liking the same type of stuff that we like to play. These developers go into these games to make games. That's the whole purpose of them doing it to begin with. To make games that they like to play. Think about it. You Xbox fanboys. How many times have you seen Phil Spencer talk about games that he's playing right now that are on a completely different platform? He's playing Spider-Man 2 right now. Do you think he gives 2 fucks about no fanboy Sony Microsoft war? He doesn't give a shit. I would like to say Sony doesn't give a shit either, but they've clearly shown they really do give a shit. Hopefully they can find somebody to step in place to take them to where like Phil Spencer's like and not give a shit. You see Phil Spencer publicly all the time showing you games that he's playing on other platforms. He's playing Super Mario Wonder and he's playing Spider-Man 2. You think just because he works for Xbox he's not going to be a fan of anything else? Use your fucking brain. Oh, Lord. That's all I got to say about that particular topic. Now, this next one's going to be a little bit... what's the proper verbiage? It's going to be a little bit more for me because this one actually kind of hits a little bit closer to home. It's actually probably a little bit of could be lead into like a little bit of a deeper topic, but I'm not going to go that deep with it. I'm just going to kind of point it out here. And this again touches into Spider-Man 2. Now, when Spider-Man 2 launched, there was a mistake that was found in the game itself when you're playing as Miles Morales and you're going through his apartment complex. Not his apartment complex, but his actual apartment. Now, we all know that Miles Morales himself is a Puerto Rican and black character. That's his background. African American and Puerto Rican. That's what he is. And he in the Miles Morales game and this game have done and shown a lot to the Puerto Rican community, the Hispanic community, and Puerto Ricans ourselves. Because me, myself, I am Puerto Rican. I'll put that out there first. Let me preface this by saying this. That yes, I am Puerto Rican. I am also part Italian. But as a Puerto Rican, it actually made me feel real good to see a lot of the Puerto Rican references in the Miles Morales game and this game that attach with Miles as a character, because I look at Miles as more like the same way I look at my son, because my son is Puerto Rican, black, and he does have Italian in him, but he does have Puerto Rican and black, so he kind of falls within that same realm that Miles does, and the representation. And everybody had this conversation, especially when Black Panther came out. Representation matters. It truly does matter. Some of y'all, it doesn't matter. But for those of us in minority communities, superhero representation, especially when we see it in film and video games like this, it does matter. Okay? And Lord knows what's going to happen when Miles hits the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to kind of touch differently for a lot of us, us Hispanics. It's going to touch. It's going to hit us a little bit different. But back on topic. When the game first came out, there was a mistake that one of the developers at Insomniac made, and that's what I have to attribute this to as a mistake. I do not want to believe that this was done purposely, because the rest of the game had perfect representation of the Puerto Rican heritage, the lifestyle, who we are as a people. It had perfect representation of all that. Okay? But when the game first launched, there was one of the artists had put instead of the Puerto Rican flag on his wall, put the Cuban flag by mistake. And that's what I have to attribute to. I have to attribute it to as a mistake. Because now, granted, the two flags do look very similar, but they are enough apart to where a mistake like that should not happen. And when you make that kind of mistake, and that's a big one, it's going to get noticed, especially by those of us in that community. And like I go back to say, representation matters. Miles is not of Cuban descent. He is of Puerto Rican descent. Some of y'all, I'm going to say a very small number of y'all, probably have no idea the difference. And, and that ignorance is okay. If you truly don't, that ignorance is okay. Go look it up. There's a big difference. Now, the flag may look pretty similar, but the colors are not. And they completely got it wrong and gave the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag. And I've got to assume that this was done by mistake. But how that got overlooked by any kind of playtesting, or by anybody that has to give the seal of approval on that particular element of the game, I don't know how that made it through. Because it was pretty obvious to us when we played through it and we seen it. And it got pinpointed online. Of course it did. That community, everybody and their mother is going to pinpoint it out online, and they did. But what struck me and got me to even consider even doing this as a segment was the comments that I saw from people saying it's not really that big of a deal. Leave it the fuck alone. It's not that big of a deal. Why are you making such a big stink out of this? And oddly enough, the people that are making these comments are from different minority groups themselves. I've seen lots of Asian and African American people saying this about the flag. Who the fuck are you? Well, I don't get that. Now, had they done that with Black Panther, who's got an African descent, if they would have gave him what? A French descent instead of an African descent, you guys would be all fucking fluid and through and through with that shit. Like, seriously. What if they gave some of the characters from, what's that, the Ten Rings? The Asian character from in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what if they gave him a completely different country that he's not even a part of? But because it's Asian, it's okay? No, it's not okay. And if you're one of the ones that say, if you tell us as a community, as that's one of our characters, if you try to tell us to leave it the fuck alone and it doesn't matter, go fuck yourself. Like, please, go jump into a rapid river with no flotation device. It makes you have, again, and I'm gonna tie this right back here real quick. You have no say-so into how we're supposed to feel as a community when we see something like that. We don't put our 2 cents in when something like that happens to, like in your community. If something like that was to happen, we don't go putting our 2 cents in like that. And it's not like it's 1 or 2 people. It's a lot of fucking people that are commenting saying that it doesn't fucking matter. It's a simple mistake. It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it is a big deal. Now, granted, I'm glad that Insomniac came out and said they made a mistake and they will fix it in the first patch. And the first patch, actually, I think just went live today. So I'm hoping it's fixed. I'm going to go back there and check that part of the level out to see if it is. But I want to see if they hold true to that. So they came out and they even admitted that it was a mistake. But here are these fanboys with phones that want to get their voice heard and get their opinions out there in a conversation that it does not matter or pertain to them. Don't tell me, as a member of that community, that it doesn't fucking matter. Go fuck yourself. Jump off of a bridge. Find the busiest freeway and try to run across that motherfucker. It does matter. Is it a big deal? Granted, the fact that they're now fixing, that they addressed that yes, this was a big mistake for us. That's a big mistake. We don't question the intent. We're assuming that it was done by accident. Just somebody ignorant couldn't tell the difference between a Cuban flag and a Puerto Rican flag. They didn't know the difference. And I blame that just solely on pure ignorance. Because the rest of the game, all the references, all the Puerto Rican messages, and the flags were there and they were correct. But the one hanging in the main character's apartment was wrong. I see if they made a mistake at like one of the festivals and they had a small Puerto Rican flag that they might have misdid it and made it like a Cuban flag instead. Now, granted, somebody still would have found it, but it would probably take them much longer. But the fact that this is a big fucking flag on the main character's wall in his home, how do you fuck that up? I blame that solely on pure ignorance. And the people that are commenting that it's not a big deal, you are the ignorant. I don't give a fuck who you are, how high of an education level you think you have, your social status, who you are, how much money you make, what car you drive, how big your house is. None of those fucking matter when it comes to something like this. It does not matter. You have no say-so. Keep the fucking mouth shut. That's what a lot of people nowadays need to get through their fucking head. If it does not pertain to you and you're not going to try to make things better, shut the fuck up. It's not going to get better. You keep on saying that this shit, it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's obvious, if they're admitting their mistake, obviously it's a big fucking deal. Now, what if they took Captain America, for example, but they gave him the wrong flag? It's Captain fucking America, but they gave him the wrong flag. What if they did that by mistake in the game? You guys would be fucking floored. I already made the example for fucking Black Panther. What if they didn't give him the correct African descent flag that he's from? that community would be fucking floored, and they'd have every right to be. Representation matters. And so many of us as a society, especially as gamers, have become so desensitized to where we have to tell each other that it doesn't fucking matter, it's not that big of a deal. It really is. And if you're not a part of that community, you will never understand. If you're not part of the injustice that goes around for different minority groups, regardless of what minority group you are, you will never understand. Each minority group is plagued with their own issues and societal issues. And if you don't think they are, you are blind. You're one of the ones that doesn't want to see it that way. And that's a you fucking problem to fix. That is a you problem to fix, not us. So when you tell me that that doesn't fucking matter, that I should just forget about it, I want to punch you in the fucking face. Somebody needs to give you a fucking wake-up call. Because you are not... What's the proper way of saying it without sounding too... I mean, I know I already sound aggravated. And I am. And us as a community have to feel that way. We have to feel aggravated. Because it's these ones that keep on telling us that it doesn't fucking matter, it's not that big of a deal, are the ones that are making it that fucking way. They're like desensitized. It doesn't fucking matter to them. Of course it doesn't. To them, it's just like, it's just a flag. It's just a flag? It's a representation of who that individual is as a person. That's their background, their heritage. Heritage in this country matters, regardless of who you are. You're white, you're black, you're Asian, it doesn't matter. Every race and nationality has a flag representation of who they are as the heritage. And you telling us to not worry about it, to forget about it, it's not that big of a deal, is that you trying to diminish and demoralize our heritage because it's not your heritage. And that shit needs to be fucking fixed. And the only way that's going to get fixed is the people that this does not affect in any way, unless you were trying to help the situation by pointing it out and saying that, yes, it is wrong, this does need to be fixed. Then you need to shut the fuck up. Your opinion does not matter. It gives zero fucks. If you were there to just try to make the situation worse than it is, you're not helping, which means you need to shut the fuck up. You're doing more harm than what you think is to be good. So I'm going to leave it just at that. For a whole bunch of group of those motherfuckers that were leaving those comments, to go fuck yourself. Jump into a deep fucking river. Rapid river. No life preserver. And no swimming lessons. We'll be right back. And we are back, and we are going to look at now our under review segment on Unpopular Opinion. This week, we are looking at the game that took me almost a month to complete. Finally, it's here, ladies and gentlemen, Lies of P. Now, Lies of P is a game that follows the formula of Souls. Soulsborne, as some will call it. Soulsborne Sekiro, as some call it. It follows the formula of From Software's RPG titles, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Sekiro, and Bloodborne. Now, I commented very early on when I started playing this game that this is probably the closest you're going to get as of right now until Bloodborne 2 gets announced. This is the closest you're going to get to another Bloodborne. It follows very similar gameplay styles, atmosphere that Bloodborne has. And to me, I personally love games like that. It follows that formula. I have always been one of my favorite genres of game right now is the Dark Souls type of games. That's my favorite. I enjoy playing games like that. I've enjoyed games like with the Wolong Dynasty. I've enjoyed games like Neo 1 and 2. Obviously anything that From Software has done in that kind of realm, I've been a huge fan of. I am a fan of that genre of game. Have beat and completed every one of those type of games. Almost forgot the Surge 1 and 2, even though I don't think it was as good as any other ones, but to me, the closest any game got to being an actual, Dark Souls type of game, I think was Neo and Neo 2. To me, that was one of the closest. Now, there was 2 games that came out this year, one of which was Lords of the Fallen. The other one is the one we're talking about right now, Lies of P. Now, Lies of P does follow a darker rendition of the story of Pinocchio. And I can kind of see where they're going with this franchise in the future based on how this game ended and the cutscene that happened at the very end. So if you stayed around, during the credits or before, right after the credits, and you saw the credit scene happen, you kind of saw the direction they were going with, either with a second title or like a possible DLC expansion for the Lies of P game itself. Me personally, I don't think it's an expansion. I think it's probably leading into what the second game's probably going to be. And that opens up, excuse me, I think that opens up lots of doors that this particular studio with this type of gameplay can branch off to. Lots of different stories they can tell. I mean, the different stories that are out there. Because it looks like they're taking fairy tale type stories like this and turning them into Soulsborne type of games. And it looks like the next one they're going to go to is The Wizard of Oz. Which could be very, very interesting if they do like a dark telling of that story. But that remains to be seen. But back to Lies of P. The inventory system, the leveling up system, the things that you could do in this game are very similar to that of anything that you played in either Bloodborne or Dark Souls. This game relies heavily on your dodging, and more importantly, your ability to block and parry incoming attacks. Which leads me into where it's trying to be a combination of Bloodborne and Sekiro. And I think that's where this game falters at. I think it falters I think it has a little bit of an identity crisis. Like it doesn't know what it really wants to be. Does it want to be a Bloodborne or does it want to be a Sekiro? And at times it feels like it really is really trying to be another Bloodborne, another Bloodborne type title. Which when it works extremely well. And then there's other times that it tries to do a little bit of too much of like Sekiro, especially when it comes to the blocking and the blocking and the parrying techniques. And I think that's where the game kind of hinders. Because it seems like you can never seem to get the parry window just right. And I thought it might have gotten fixed through like upgrades that you make to your actual character, but it doesn't. They give you extra like different kind of abilities and stuff, but it doesn't make like that window any better by the time you get to the end. Now, I have heard and seen complaints of people saying the game is a little bit too hard, and they've already nerfed like a couple of the bosses in the game. I don't understand why they did that already. I would have probably let it go a little bit longer than that before you start nerfing bosses. Because I heard the King of Puppet fight is much easier now than it was when the game first came out, which kind of makes me a little bit mad because like now, like I've already beat him when he was at his hardest, and now you mean to tell me I go back and fight him again, it's going to be easier? And now when I go back and fight him, it's going to be on New Game Plus. So I'm going to have all my upgrades and everything going into that fight already. So I have to judge Liza P on what we got, and I think the direction or what it was trying to be. And I think it probably works a lot better when it tries to be more Bloodborne than it does Sekiro. I think the gameplay mechanic actually works better in that realm. I spend the majority of the game trying to dodge, but there are bosses in that game that actually require you to get good at the parry, and I thought that's where the game had its downfall. I can't say anything negative about the storyline. I thought the storyline was phenomenal. I still really enjoy the storyline. I like the direction they went with it. I like the darker telling of Pinocchio and how they kept elements of the story that you remember as a kid, how they kept it relevant in this game and still made it a thing. I thought was brilliant. I was happy to see that. And I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I possibly can. But like the whole concept of the game is for you to be less of a puppet and more of like a real human being. But in order to do that, you can change that or alter that. Do you want to be more of a puppet or do you want to be more of a human being? And you do that by telling either the truth or lies when you talk to certain individuals in the game. The more you lie, the more human you become. The more truth you tell, the more of just a single puppet you tend to just stay as. I wish this kind of altered maybe your gameplay a little bit more than it did, because it didn't really alter your gameplay at all based on the choices you make. The only thing it really altered was maybe like how some of the NPCs seem to react to you, which I wish the game element of telling truth and telling lies had more of an impact on the game than it actually did. I mean, it was cool what they did. It was cool in some of the elements they made that they put in the game to make you feel more or to become more of like a human. I get that and understand that. I think that's actually really cool to do it that way. I just wish it had more of an effect on the actual gameplay or more of an effect on the actual story outcome in the end. Because in the end, you still get to choose the main outcome regardless of whether you're telling truth or you're telling lies. And I think that was probably a little bit of a misstep in the studios and what the studio wanted to do. It's a great game. If you love that particular type of game, you're going to love this. The story is fantastic. The lore is just as phenomenal. The environment and the world you fight through, I wish it was a little bit more open. It does tend to open up a little bit more towards the end, but it follows more of a linear path than other Soulsborne type games have done. I wish it was a little bit more open in that regard. But for what it was, Liza P was still a fantastic game. Would I go back and play it on New Game Plus? I'm already starting. So for that, we're going to give Liza P a 9 out of 10. Fantastic game, worthy of a buy. If you have it on Game Pass, it's definitely worthy of a purchase or of a download. When this game leaves Game Pass, this will be one that I buy, just to kind of keep it within my library and I can play it whenever I want. All right, well, we're going to be back. We're going to just kind of get ready to close this show out. And when we come back, we'll kind of let you know what we got going on next week. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome on back, everybody. We are getting ready to close this show out. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Sorry, again, it took us to the end of the week to kind of get the show out to you, but it is finally here. I'm going to be putting them out in segments starting today, so you can definitely be looking forward to that, and hopefully this will take you into your weekend. Again, thank everybody for coming and listening to the show this week. There was a couple of topics that, as I'm being told, I kind of got a little bit carried away in, but I don't really care. That's just that's going to be the nature of the show that you're going to get from me. It's my unbiased, it's an unpopular opinion. It's going to be one that you're probably not going to agree with. Some of y'all are going to be like, think I maybe went a little bit too far. I don't give a fuck. That's what I do. That's who I am. I don't sugarcoat anything. That's how that's how I am. And I'm gonna continue being that, and continue to do that from this day forward. And like I said, I've been doing that for many years, and we'll continue to be that way. Again, so next week we'll have another show. Hopefully, if not next week, then the following week. I know we've got a couple weeks of stuff going on. We got the holidays coming up here in a matter of a few weeks. Daggone, the year's just zooming right on by. So we've got a lot going on this month, and but we will definitely get the shows in most certainly when we can. We've got Super Mario RPG. We're going to be playing the WarioWare. I don't remember the exact full title of the game. Hold on a second. I had the list here in front of me. If you can just give me a second to kind of pull it up here, that way I can kind of go over what we've got coming. So, WarioWare Move It is what it's called. That's the other one. Next week we will be doing RoboCop. The demo did come out for that one. Modern Warfare 3, Super Mario RPG, Naruto Ninja Storm. Oh, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is coming out. That's not until December 7th. Let's see. The Walking Dead Destinies. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. When does The Walking Dead come out? I thought that was supposed to be like an October title, right? But I think they pushed it back, if I'm not mistaken. December 1st. So they pushed it back to the first week of December. We'll see if it makes that release. But then some of these other games aren't until next year. So like Tekken's next year, Final Fantasy's next year, Princess Peach next year, Mario versus Donkey Kong next year, Prince of Persia next year. So this year it looks like we're getting the last bit of titles coming out this month to get everything ready to go. So that's what we got coming this week, or at least coming next week under review. So what are we going to be reviewing next week on our, at least I'll say next week, but our next episode, what we plan on reviewing. Let me circle back here and see, because I know I've got a couple of older titles. I won't say older titles, but I got a couple of titles that we were playing through as some of this new stuff was coming in. So, Liza P, we just did that one. Assassin's Creed Mirage. I don't think we'll have that one ready for at least another couple weeks. So I can't say we're going to have that one ready to go, because that one I think is going to take us a tad bit longer. Spider-Man, maybe. We might be able to do Spider-Man. I'm going to kind of keep that one open for right now because we are, we have been playing a lot of it, and we are getting closer to the end of that game as well. It's not like one of those super, super long titles, but we'll have a game ready for you guys next week. That's for sure. I'm hoping it might be Spiderman. So we're gonna try to get Spiderman in. Okay. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. We hope you guys had a great time, and until next time, everybody, I am K with the X Factor, and game on.